Can you see me? Can you see me? Oh, thank you. There's one person. Thank you so much for joining. I think I finally figured out how to start a live stream. Thank you so much for joining, and thank you everyone for supporting my channel. We're getting close to 5K. Sorry, let me get my hair tied. All right. Thank you for joining again. Let me see if I can find any of my babies. I do have, well, today I decided to join with my phone. Here. This is Melon Bang. Hey, Melon Bang. So cute. He's big. He's really shy. Oh, Melon Bang. Oh, Melon Bang. Oh, 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 oh. So cute. Melon Bang. So cute. Oh, oh. That's Melon Bang. Oh, it's been really sweet now. And then we have Mojo. Mojo. Hey, Mojo. Mojo. He's so cute. He has manicure. Just his claws are white. It's Mojo. He's about 5 years old, I think. About 5 years old. That's Mojo. Hey, Mojo. I love you. Okay, let's check other cats. Let me see. Oh, that's Mi-chan. Hey, Mi-chan. Oh, hey. Adila, Mustafa, thank you for joining. Yeah, I love cats too. This is Mi-chan. Hey. She's the smallest. She is actually Melon Pan's sister. So these two are siblings. It's funny because Melon Pan is the biggest, about 17 pounds. And then Mi-chan is the smallest of the 4 cats. Mi-chan? Mi-chan? Okay. All right. We have one more cat left. She is Selena. 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 Can't find. I see Mojo and Mi-chan there and Melon Pan. No, Melon Pan. Melon Pan, no. Melon Pan sometimes. Oh, Avery. Hey, Avery, thank you for joining. And Zoma, thank you for joining. Okay, this boy, he sometimes bullies Mojo over there. He is the biggest and the strongest, and he doesn't know how strong he is. And I don't know, I think he gets jealous or something, and he just bullies Mojo. And Mojo is really nice in general. He doesn't fight back. He just runs away. And yeah, sometimes feel bad for him. Which we're trying to deal with this situation, like giving this boy some medicine to calm him down, or you know, some other methods, but it hasn't worked yet, so I'm gonna continue trying. Oh, that really cool dude. Thank you for joining. It's a good name. Yeah, I'll show you when Selena joins. When she comes, I'll introduce you to Selena. Okay, so this is our second live stream. First one was when we reached 2K subscribers, and that was last month, I think, and we're getting close to 5K, which is great. We're gonna continue, of course, doing this. Our channel hasn't been monetized yet, hasn't started monetizing yet. That's my goal. Why? Because I need money. I am Japanese language teacher at college level, but and right now I'm teaching summer class. And at the U of M, University of Minnesota. But after the summer classes, I'll be done with U of M for good. My contract will end. So with that, what am I gonna do? Well, U of M was my 5th school to work for. First school that I taught Japanese was University of Kansas, and the next was Kalamazoo College in Michigan, and then Grinnell College in Iowa, Oberlin College in Ohio, and then U of M here, right? 5 schools I've worked so far, and I have shared in a couple of my videos, but I don't like the workplace, basically. Because of the nature of my job, my coworkers and my bosses have been, almost every time, Japanese people, right? Because we're Japanese language teachers. Of course, in the past, I have had a couple of non-Japanese people who were teachers, and that was great. But usually, even so, majority of each college in the Japanese department have been Japanese people. What happens when your workplace is like that? Of course, people will follow Japanese culture at the workplace, even when you're teaching in the United States, right? So when it comes to following the Japanese culture, I'm not really good at following in general, but especially Japanese culture. Actually, I hate following Japanese culture. It's not, many stuff don't make sense. I feel like many times it's just, you just have to act like a robot, you know? You just have to follow whatever rule that is taught to you. You can't question. If you question and decide not to follow, then you're an outcast, you're bullied, ostracized, everything. And that has happened, of course, in the school, but also in the past too. Just, you can, it's pretty obvious from the outside too that I'm different. I visually look different compared to a typical Japanese male. Typical Japanese male who works full-time job, don't have long hair, don't wear earrings, which I do. I just not wearing tonight because I lost one of the earrings, but I do wear earrings. I have tattoos. Yeah, just almost everything in every aspect, I am different from typical Japanese male. And whenever that happens, of course, the majority wins usually, right? And majority is always the other side. I have been always the minority. Yeah. So, yeah, with that, it's so easy to get abused, verbally abused. You don't have a say, you don't have a right, right? You're publicly shamed in front of people. Those stuff will happen at workplace following Japanese culture. That is the reason, one of the biggest reasons, why lots of people commit suicide in Japan. A lot of them are adults working full time. They commit suicide. Why? Usually because of their bosses. They can sue and stuff, and it is getting better. The society in Japan is getting better in that they are recognizing the abuses that bosses have been doing to their employees or subordinates, right? They have been acknowledged. People started to sue and they started to win. So the media also started to change a little bit to criticize bosses who are abusive, right? So it is changing little by little. But I'm just so too different from the typical Japanese people. And that's why I'm here in the United States, so that I can live without being judged in a negative way. I can live without being abused because of who I am or how I look. Like the stuff that would happen if I worked in Japan, right? So I've been living in the United States for 17 years so far. But again, because of the nature of my job as a Japanese language teacher, my workplaces have been abusive, to be honest. And with that, I don't want to work at a college level anymore. I don't want to. I love teaching Japanese, and I'll continue teaching Japanese. And I'm pretty sure I'll do many other stuff, many other business ideas that I have. But one thing I know for sure, I've already lost my health insurance because my contract with the U of M, right? So those perks, right? Of course, there are lots of benefits by working at a college level, and that's maybe the only good thing. So I would miss those, right? Getting those benefits. But for me, to be honest, it's not worth having those benefits if I have to continue working at a college level where your coworkers or bosses will abuse you and don't respect you. My students have always respected me, and I respect them. We get along. We have fun. I love my students. I would do anything for my students. So, of course, to be honest, I didn't want to leave, right? But the reality, other factors are just too big not to ignore, right? So with the conclusion I have reached so far is, the fact that I still love teaching Japanese still remains, right? But then my work environment was something that I couldn't bear with, right? So YouTube was the conclusion I made. So by teaching Japanese through YouTube, it has a potential for me to be able to teach not only to hundreds of people that I teach at college level, but it could be potentially thousands of people, millions of people that I could end up teaching, which is great. And then work environment wise, I don't have a boss. I'm my own boss, right? I do have a team who work with me. We are friends. We're all equals. I mean, of course, like, you know, formality wise, I am, the person who started this, and I'm paying my friends who are working with me, right? So with that, yes, like there is like some positions difference, but we don't consider each other like lower than anyone or higher than anyone. We want to practice equality. We want to practice respecting each other no matter what. I think it's basic right, basic human right to be just respected by being alive. I think the current media, they always go toward like the lavish accomplishments of people, successful people, and the media direct people to think that you have to accomplish something great to be validated or to be happy, right? But I completely disagree with that political agenda. Why? Because the successes, accomplishments, or happiness that the current media are talking about is usually directly associated with money. So the more money you have, the happier you get, which I know it's not true. There are many people who are not as rich as other people, but still super happy, while at the same time, there are lots of so-called rich people committing suicide because they lost hope even when they had tons of money. And I don't want to follow that path of deciding if I'm happy or not, if I'm successful or not, by how much money I'm making. Of course, I do need money to survive. That's why I'm doing this YouTube channel, hoping that it will someday be monetized, right? In this capitalistic society, we do need money to survive. So for me to survive, I do need money, right? But that's about it. That's the limit that money can reach in my world, I guess, right? Of course, my eventual goal, I have shared my ultimate eventual goal / dream. I wouldn't say it's a dream because I know it's gonna happen. Why do I know it's gonna happen? Because I have decided not to give up until I die. Which means, well, I struggle with mental health and stuff, but at least my physical health, fortunately, is really good. I'm healthy physically. So with that, I do feel like I will live long. I will live long. So let's say I'll work until 90 years old. I have, I mean, you might think like you gotta retire. Like when you reach 65 or whatever, you should retire and have fun. I know that, but at the same time, I've seen so many people who retired who just became stagnant, started to lose some purpose to live, when they just stop doing stuff, right? And one huge change I've been seeing from people is once they stop working, they decline in everything, in health, in the brain functions, social abilities to live smoothly in the society. Everything declines once you stop working. I'm not just talking about work that would make money, just stuff to do in general. Like, there are some people who don't need to work to make money. Maybe they will do other stuff like go on a hike or work on the artwork or whatever, right? I'm talking about just stuff to do in general is work. Yeah, I do believe, and I have seen from many people, that once we stop doing stuff, we won't be able to do those stuff anymore. Our body declines rapidly. So with that, I want to, and I'm determined to work until I'm 90 years old. So I'm 37 years old now. So until 90, I have 53 years, right? I have 53 years to accomplish this huge goal that I have. And I will share the goal, right? 53 years, that's a long time. And I just started this, new journey of doing YouTube this year, right? So it's just the first year. So with that time that I have, yeah, it will happen no matter what. I will make it happen. That's my determination. And that's why I exist. I have, for a long time, never found like true reason for me to live. People might call it mission. Why were you born? There's something that only you can do that other people can't do. Why were you born? If you can answer this question, that's great. I'm really happy for you. Admirable. For me, I couldn't find the reason why I had to be born. Because all the stuff that I was doing could have been done by other people easily, right? And, with my mental health, it's just, living itself is just a suffering. It's just, it's tough. Just staying alive is tough. With how the society is working, right? Being alive is tough. In that situation, when you don't have, or when you can't figure out what you want to do in your life, that's extra, like exponentially, the level of depression will go exponentially high, because, well, like I said, with depression, with depression, being alive itself is tough. When just staying alive is tough, of course, you want to have like a motivation or goal so that you will, continue staying alive. You want to have a reason to stay alive. If you don't have a reason, of course, it's going to be so easy to make that choice of ending, right? And ending my journey is something that I have decided not to do in my whole life. I don't know why, but that's something I decided not to do. It didn't change the fact that I didn't know what my mission was, why I was born here, right? So the journey continued for, I think I started struggling or suffering from depression since I was about 17 years old in high school. So, yeah, 20 years. I've been suffering from depression for 20 years now, right? 20 years of depression with no sense of purpose in general. Of course, each moment, because I have to work to survive, I have those small, tiny goals or reasons to stay alive. But the core reason of why I should stay alive wasn't there for 20 years. And I feel like this year, finally, with the new changes, I have figured out what I want to do. And this is the first step. YouTube is the first step. So without delaying, I'll share what I want to do. It's gonna sound crazy because you don't see what I want to accomplish anywhere in the world. I guess. Maybe they are. But anyways, I want to create a community where money doesn't exist. Yep. Sounds crazy, right? Yeah. Well, let me explain. So, of course, even though I've been, in my personal opinion, I have been struggling a lot in my life with many things and many aspects: financial struggle, health struggle, relationship struggle, immigration stuff, just many things, right? But at the same time, I do understand that I'm privileged. The reason why I was able to study abroad in the United States was because my parents made it possible for me. And not really tiny percentage of Japanese people, families can afford even one person to study abroad in the United States, with how much it costs for international people. It costs about 3 times more compared to American citizen to study at college in the United States. So like each semester, like it's safe to assume, well, maybe in a year, right? If you include place to live, food to eat, and everything, then it's gonna go about 30K or more, yeah, a year for Japanese person, international person to study abroad in the United States, right? So of course, I'm super privileged, and I do, of course, appreciate my parents for making it possible for me to do this. And thanks to them, I was able to become a Japanese language teacher, and I've been living here in the United States for 17 years. However, at the same time, I have been, of course, I've been doing my best to live on my own or not depend on my parents financially whenever I'm struggling financially. And of course, that's been really tough, right? Here and there, stuff will happen, and I have asked my parents for money many times, and I still owe them money. And I'm determined to return the money. With that, right, I have really struggled financially. That's definitely the biggest struggle, financial struggle. Almost everything comes down to money, unfortunately, in this capitalistic society. I lost my health insurance. Well, you can buy health insurance, but it costs $500 a month, $700 a month. I can't afford. That's why I don't have health insurance. That's why I can't go to hospital and stuff. That's when you don't have money, of course, you're like 24/7 anxious about if you can survive. And of course, that will eat your mental health up, right? Everything is connected to money. The job that I have, teaching Japanese at college level, it's a great job. I love my students, but the pay is bad. Since I work at University of Minnesota, it's a public school, so they do open information of faculty members' salary. You can look up, you can Google it, any public university in the United States, you can just look up teachers' salary, which is great, fun to look at. This school, for example, when I started U of M 3 years ago, my starting salary was 55K. And with that money, let me check how much eventually I got, because all the taxes, right? And then also health insurance is subtracted from the pay. so every month, yeah, I would get about $3,800 every month, right? That's it. That's the eventual money that I would get every month. 3,800. The living cost, average for someone like me who's adult, who's supposed to be responsible and live in a nice place or whatever. I do have 4 cats, so I can't. It's my choice, but I can't live in an apartment because of the rules, right? So living cost, rent is about $2,000, right? Plus car, insurance, everything, right? So, and then, well, 3,800 with $2,000 rent, and then all the other miscellaneous cost, car, stuff, whatever, right? It's tough. It's tough to live. You can't just comfortably live with 55K. Of course, this is what I said might make people upset. I know that. Again, I am coming from a privileged family. Of course, like 3,800 a month, that's a lot. If you don't have money, don't drive a car, live in a super cheap place, don't spend too much on food. Yes, of course I can do those, but I decided not to. I decided to respect myself more, that I want to in this heavily car dependent society, right? In the United States. At this age, I want a car so that I can go to places. I want to eat some food, like not just. I used to, when I was a student, I used to just spend $50 a month for groceries, just $50 a month. With that, I could only buy rice and eggs, and every meal it was just fried rice with just eggs, right? I would just change condiments and stuff, and that was it. But I don't want to live like that anymore. Of course, if I just, my current budget for groceries is about $400 to $500 a month. So it's basically 10 times more that I'm using compared to when I was a student, right? I want to live like this. I want to feel like I'm living a life. I don't want to just restrict everything just to save every cent so that I can survive. Yeah, some people are okay with it, but for me, I don't want to live like that every day. Just working like a robot, nothing fun to do, just eat, sleep, teach, repetition of that. I don't want to do. I want to have what people say, a normal life where in this country, because you have a car, you can go to places, you can meet people, you can sometimes like talk over coffee, that kind of stuff, right? I want to. So, and that's the path that I decided to do. So, of course, with the 55K a year, I couldn't afford every month. So naturally, I had to do other jobs, like side jobs, part-time jobs. I eventually had to have 4 different jobs, yeah, to survive. Again, this is my decision, right? For my cats, I do give them good food, and I do take care of them well. I don't, and I will never save money from my cat's budget. I won't, right? So, with that, just to let you know, 55K is how I started. Every month, every year, it will increase just by $1,000. And this is my 3rd year this year. And my pay is 57.5K. That's my salary this year. since you can just look up anyone's salary at public college, right? I looked up other teachers who are professors who have PhD. I just have master's degree, so I cannot become I cannot become a professor usually. If you're a professor, then your salary is basically doubled, like 100K. I mean, 90K to 100 and over. You know, the longer you work, the more you get. Which is, of course, like, you know, PhD professors, you know, there are stuff that they do that lecturers like me don't do, right? Like research and stuff. But for example, like if you get a tenureship, then you don't need to do research anymore. You can just teach, and that's it for the rest of your life. You're guaranteed for the rest of your life that you can continue working. When lecturers are usually 1-year contract, that's why almost every year I moved, right? Okay, so University of Minnesota, I guess football is big. I'm pretty sure many other sports are big too. But guess how much the head coach of the football team at U of M, University of Minnesota, is paid? Anyone who want to leave a comment, please guess how much a head coach is. 250K. Good guess. Good guess. Anyone else? Just as a reference again, I'm paid 57.5K. Those with PhDs, who are professors, usually get like 90K and up. Head coach, I guess I'll share the answer. $1.5 million. $1.5 million every year. Of course, I don't want to, you know, right? That's my reaction too. What the fuck? So basically, the head coach at U of M is worth 30 people of me. 30 of me. 30 times he's paid more than me, right? I've been teaching Japanese 10 years. 50, 55, 57K, can survive, so that's why I do 3 other jobs, four jobs in total. Head coach, $1.5 million. It is all about business, university too. So, with that, money, it does come down to money. Most of the stuff. Place to live, money. Food to eat, money. Health insurance, money. Just to stay alive, money. Almost everything is money, right? So that's why it's easy for people to think that the more money you have, the happier you are, which I disagree. But it doesn't mean that money is not important. It is important. We do need money to survive. So with all my experiences of like working about 70 hours a week just to survive, and I'm fucked when stuff happen, like my car breaks down or one of my cats gets sick, then I'm fucked, right? In a month, I can only save $300 a month for emergency. But what happens when you take one of your cats to bed? You can't usually. You can't afford with just $300. Many times it just easily goes $1,000. And then, not to mention the cost, right? Car problems. $300? No way. Yeah, right? So, do you think pet insurance is worth it? I do hear both opinions, pros and cons. Like, pros is that, yeah, by paying fixed amount every month, when stuff happen, you know, you can get covered. So in that sense, it's predictable, consistent amount of money every month, so it's easy to manage. Cons that I've been hearing is many of those insurance companies, they don't, of course, they don't cover big stuff like surgeries and stuff. They only cover like checkup and stuff, which um, usually you go to vet because your babies are sick. So checkup wouldn't, I mean, of course, checkup is important, but if they don't cover big uh, costing stuff, then what's the point of having insurance? So with that, especially with me having 4 cats, like I calculated one day, like there was this one insurance where you could pay about $30 a cat a month, right? Right, the deductible is still pretty high, like 500 plus, depending on age of cat as well. Yeah, true. It is high. Yeah. So like, for example, $30 a month for cat insurance. I have 4 of them. That's 120 a month, right? 10 months of that, that's 1,200. So I was like, okay, in 1 year, that's, what is it? 1,400, 1,440, right? And if my babies don't get sick, then I'm just losing those 1,400. Of course, that's how insurance works, but I eventually decided not to, and just decided to just because cats in general, they are tough, they are strong, they many times compared to dogs, many times in general, they are self-sufficient in general, right? Or at least they act like it, right? So I decided to do that, not the insurance. Well, let me know if you think it's better for me to get insurance. Yeah. So back to what I want to do. I said my life goal until I die is to have a community, a village, basically, to create a village where you don't need money. Fair enough. I've had a cat who I picked up after it got shot. Oh shit. And it lived to age 15. Wow. Whoa. That's really incredible. Wow. Your cat got shot. I can't imagine. Wow. And your cat survived until 15. That's amazing. Yeah, cats are really strong. Yeah. I love them. Yeah. So, what do I mean when I say, oh, hey, Shala Lee, thank you for joining. What do I mean when I say I want to create a village where you don't need money? Of course, I do need to have lots of money to make it happen, right? But let's pretend I do have money, right? What I want to do is, hopefully there's a ghost town where people just abandon their houses and just we buy those houses and make that as our village. But I want to basically raise what people think of what basic human right in terms of how you're living. Well, let me explain. Okay, so it seems like in this country, United States, basic human right, typical image, or like the common sense that people have in this country is just being alive. Is the being alive, and that's it. It's the basic human right. Everything else, to stay alive, it's your work. You have to do something to stay alive. In Japan, if you don't want to work or if you can't work, you can apply for stipend every month. You get money just enough so that you can at least have a place to live and have food to eat, at least. So that's guaranteed in Japan, right? That's the biggest reason we don't have that many homeless people in Japan. Here, we don't have that, right? So having a place to live, having food to eat, having healthy insurance, these are actually privileges in this country. It's not like guaranteed basic right, at least, is how I'm feeling, right? I want to change that common sense that common sense that people have in their head. I want to change to think that basic human right is that you at least can stay alive. You have a place to stay. You have food to eat. If you're sick, you can go to hospital. You don't need to worry about money. I think that's the bare minimum of basic human right. That's my conviction, and that's what I want to actualize in this country. So with that, right, those people who maybe agree with my plan, right, we gather with the money that we have, buy village. Hopefully we'll eventually build a hospital. And then those people who are struggling in any way, we provide food, place to stay, health insurance. We cover everything. And of course, those people who already have those but still want to contribute to the village can maybe volunteer. Or if you want to work and get paid, then you can still work at the village and get paid. I just say, I want to have a village where there's no money, but that's, a little bit of a overstatement. If you want to have money, of course you can. That's totally fine. I'm not trying to force everyone to just get rid of the modern way of living, which is money, right? I just want to provide this, I guess, like the safety net or like backup plan. If people have in their mind that, like, for example, I got in a car accident. Well, for example, let's say you get sick, but you don't have health insurance. Okay, and then your parents are like, no, you can't go to hospital. We can't afford for you to go to hospital, right? And then in that very time, if they can have in their mind, like, oh, hey, if we go to that village, it's free healthcare. Let's at least go there so that, you'll be taken care of, So that kind of like backup plan for everyone. You suddenly lose your job, you can't afford your rent. Okay, let me go to that village, stay a little bit until I, get myself, ready again to try my life again, that kind of stuff. A commune. What is commune? Sorry, I'm not a native speaker of English. I'll have to look it up. Commune. It does sound like, people might just say it's like communist society, like trying to create, lose originality, individuality, those stuff. I don't want anyone to lose their originality or individuality. I want them to do anything that they want. For example, artists, right? Many times, the dilemma that artists face eventually is if they can continue making their own art that they want to make and live off from it, or if they have to change their artwork to more marketable, likable way for people to like it, to pay money so that you can survive. If there's always dilemma of if you can follow your path 100% or if you have to change a little bit to survive, right? I want to support those local artists. I want them to not think about money, like creating art to make money, right? I mean, that's fine if you want to do that, but many artists at the same time, they just want to make art because they want to. They want to express themselves. And that's beautiful. I want to support that. So if you got, for example, in that case, right, they can live in a community. They don't need to worry about place to stay, food. They can really focus on their artwork, right? When that happens, they will eventually be able to like sever the tie between money and time, right? In this capitalistic society, time equals money, and that is unfortunate. That is an unfortunate fact. If you need more money, just work more. Typical formula. So, if we can have a community where we can support local artists so that they don't need to worry about money, then they can really get rid of the idea of money from the concept of time, right? They can just use the time for their artwork or whatever they want to do. So it will definitely create an opportunity for them to revisit the meaning of time itself, maybe, right? What would that mean? If you don't need to worry about money and you can do whatever you want, are you gonna be lazy, or are you gonna just be able to really? Okay, thank you, AGTNTSK. Thank you so much. Hope to see you again. Okay, so yeah. With that, right? I think I do see people who would want to give like constructive criticism, like, that's just you trying to create a communist like society, and history has proven that people just get lazy, stop working, and it just collapse. I don't think so. If you have the right life philosophy, right way to support people, we can definitely have really peaceful and fun, beautiful environment, living place. I definitely believe that. For example, it's not just for artists, it's not just for people who don't have place to live. For example, for me, sort of off topic, but what are your thoughts, mental health support? That is a good question. Yeah, I do get to compare between Japan and United States in terms of mental health. Well, maybe before I move on to that, just 1 minute to finish that story that I was trying to talk about, right? So let's say in my case, who work 70 hours a week just to survive, and whenever emergency stuff happen, you're fucked, right? In this situation, you are basically sustaining yourself, but is working 70 hours a week humane? Is working 70 hours a week normal life? I don't think so. You don't get to have hobby. Of course, I have like couple hours every day, every night after work before I go to bed, right? But by that time you're tired, you just want to watch TV or something and just sleep, right? I don't get to have chunk of time to work on whatever I want to do. I don't get to have a hobby. So for me, people who are working maybe I would say like more than, of course it depends on people, but people who are working more than 40 hours or 50 hours, it's not healthy. So if you don't want to work that many hours, then our village will support and send you the money, the same amount of money that you would be making by doing those extra jobs. That way you can just focus on 100% focus on the one full-time job that you have, or if you don't have full-time job, just I want to make sure people don't need to work like that many hours just to survive. I don't want anyone to be like that. So I want to have a village who can support that too, right? So in basically any situation, anyone who are struggling, I want to have a community where we help each other. That's the eventual goal. And I have 53 years until I accomplish that. Of course, I'm pretty sure we will start by supporting virtually. Like we won't be able to have a physical village yet at the beginning. Of course, at the beginning, it will be like sending money for those who are in need, right? But when we have even more money, eventually we will make a physical village where you can go, everything, no money is needed. And that's it, yeah. But anyways, moving on to mental health stuff. Yeah, I do have a lot to say. Like I said, I have been suffering from depression for 20 years. This is my 21st year with my depression since high school. In Japan, similar to mental health issue, it's pretty similar to LGBTQ issue, meaning those two are usually not acknowledged in Japan or almost considered taboo to talk about, right? It's in that sense, Japan is really so behind most of the countries, so behind to just genuinely respect people. So far, they're not really respecting people who are part of LGBTQ plus, people who have mental health. They do respect people who have physical illness, but not people with mental illness. For me, because of that background, right? How Japanese society is thinking. Of course, media or school wouldn't talk about mental health. We don't learn about it. I didn't learn about depression, what kind of feelings you will have, and what to do when you start to have those feelings, right? Never learned. And of course, we can't learn everything at school. In real society, too. No teaching in real society. Media, news, TV, family, friends, no topic about mental health, LGBTQ stuff, no. So of course, if you have to be really actively seeking to know, right? So with that, I grew up from high school thinking that, the thought of wanting to die is normal. Everyone has that thought. Because I thought that way, I don't know, because like I said, we don't have any education about mental health, right? And no one shares about mental health. So that's why I just secretly thought that, the desire to want to die, I have had since high school. I thought every single person has it. So that's why I didn't even think that I have mental illness or I might be struggling with depression. I didn't even think about it until I went to see a doctor in the United States. I went to see a doctor when I was going to school. I was really struggling at school, and one of my friends told me that I might have ADHD, which still many people like 100% believe I do. I haven't been able to officially be diagnosed, but so I went to see doctor to see if I have ADHD, and if so, hopefully I get some medicine that will help me, right? And then the doctor was like, I think you have depression. And that's that's the first time first time anyone said that I might have depression. I remember being so shocked. I was like, no, there's no way I have depression. Because, you know, growing up in Japan, when having mental illness is taboo, you're conditioned to think that way. Think that having any kind of mental illness is sign that you are weak, can't fit in the society, all of those negative images, right? So even I got a little bit upset when the doctor told me, right? Because I was kind of similar to, I mean, again, LGBTQ too. I grew up believing that LGBTQ, there's something wrong with those people when I eventually came out as LGBTQ people, right? Same thing. When there's no education, usually people just spread negative image of those stuff and then makes it worse. Okay, so I started taking medication and it has been helping me. I also started seeing a therapist here. I can't do that anymore because I lost my health insurance. Fortunately, the medicine for my depression is affordable without insurance. Fortunate, really fortunate. I'm really lucky. It was hard for some of my family members to accept that I have depression because of that societal image of people who have mental illness. Yeah, like I could see sometimes that, you know, some of the family members would, you know, intentionally try to hide that I have mental illness. Why? Because bullying in Japan doesn't just stay with the person who's the minority. It can expand to its entire family. You know, when I am openly gay, openly struggling with depression, then my whole family might be bullied in Japanese society. That's how fucked up it is in Japan. Yep. So I understood. It's kind of, if you live in that kind of society, it's natural to think, to try to hide when one of the family members has one of the taboos stuff, which I have many taboos, right? Again, like mental illness, tattoos, LGBTQ, vegan, relationship types. In many ways, I'm just lots of taboo stuff I checked based on Japanese standard. So it's natural for people to try to hide. Yeah. So it did take some time for some of my families to accept. With that, yeah. Of course, there's a lot of work to do here in this country, United States, in terms of mental health, of course. But compared to Japan, it's way ahead. It's way ahead. Okay, Charlotte, thank you for sharing. You know, mental stuff, you know, it is really difficult to try to figure out, especially people who have never suffered from it. it's hard for them to really understand. Many typical reaction people will have is that you're lazy, that you can't get out of bed. You're lazy, that you don't want to work. You're just lazy, that you don't want to do anything. Um, and but at the same time, mental health, if you're struggling with it, it is super, super, super tough because it stays with you 24/7. Like for example, my case, right? Like the thought of I'm better off dead, that kind of stuff, right? It's a constant battle. It's a constant battle. You have to fight against that desire that you have. And also because you have that desire, it's so easy to take everything in a negative way, right? You want to take it negatively so that you can justify being able to end your life, right? So mental illness does really impact from inside out, really. That's why like people, I mean, I don't need to explain about this. It just changes your life, right? So yeah, inshallah, let me know if there's anything I can support. Like I said, if you live in the United States, there are good support. There are places who offer like free, yeah, yeah, you get it too. Yeah, free services, right? Of course, because I struggle with this, I do have my own, I would say like coping mechanism, maybe, if this helps. And it's been an hour already, right? So and after I share this coping mechanism that I have that could help you, let me know. So whenever I find myself really super suffering, a lack of social support and cultural norms definitely contribute to the development of mental illness, especially from a young age. Yeah, social support. This is what I mean when I say that I want to create a community, eventually physical community, where we support each other. Yeah. We don't support each other. Like rich people, they actually support each other. That's why when, for example, one of them go bankrupt, failed in business or whatever, they just stand up and continue to be rich. Why? Because they have strong connections among the rich. They just support each other through business, right? But the weak or the poor, right? I'm not blaming anyone because we are like in a survival mode. We are fighting for our life. We're just fighting just to exist, to stay alive. So it's understandable. But with that, right, the reality is on our side, we are not helping each other. For example, like I would need suddenly this chunk of money, but I don't. I ask my friends, they'll be like, well, I'm broke too. Sorry, I can't. Of course, I know, but like, supporting each other doesn't mean that you just help all of it. For example, in that situation, even $1 can really help, right? Like, why don't we? I'm broke, but I still financially support people when they are struggling. I do that because I know how it feels when you don't have money and you don't have anyone who can financially support you. It's fucking tough, and that would make you want to die, right? Yeah. So, yeah, societal, social support. Okay, back to my coping mechanism. Charlotte says, I try to find ways to cope, but I would often fall back negatively, such as making a promise to myself one day only to go back on it. Yeah. I do understand. Yeah. It's so easy for us to beat ourselves up for not being able to do stuff, because the societal pressure is that, I guess societal pressure, societal common sense is based off from people who are not struggling, period. That's why people who are struggling, we are naturally just below the societal norm, right? Yeah. My coping mechanism might help you, Shala, in that case, in your case. Whenever I find myself super struggling, like just don't want to do anything, right? I ask myself this one simple question. Are you alive? Just one simple question. Are you alive? And if the answer you give is yes, then you're already victorious, which means you're already happy. Because for us who really suffer from mental illness or whatever, financial stuff, just doing our best just to survive, right? Just the fact that we are still alive is an amazing feat. It's a great accomplishment. We don't need to accomplish whatever that the media tells you or the society tells you. Like, you don't need to be a millionaire, you don't need to have a full-time job, you don't need to be married, right? As long as you're alive, you're victorious, which means you're happy. Which is, of course, like when I ask myself that, and of course every time the answer is yes, because I'm alive, and that's why I can ask myself, and I've decided not to end my life. So the answer is always yes, and that's the point. But of course, it is many times difficult to just believe that, hey, I'm alive, that's why I'm happy. It's so difficult to really have that as your conviction. Why? Because the reality won't change. The fact that you're broke or you're sick won't change, right? But, my philosophy is that the true happiness, right? True happiness does come from within, Stuff don't matter at the end of the day, right? That the happiness from within is the indestructible, deepest happiness. And that deepest happiness you can reach the fastest when you support other people to reach the same place together, not just yourself. That's what many people do. Just be selfish, just secure financially, yourself first, and then, no. Let's suffer together. Let's support each other. Let's cry together. Let's have fun together. That kind of togetherness, when we can have that community, I think it'll be great. But that's my recommendation. Just whenever you're super suffering, just ask yourself, are you alive? And if your answer is yes, then just give a tap on your shoulder. It's my conviction that you are happy if you're alive. You're already winning, because staying alive is super tough. Okay? I hope that helps. Oh, nice. Great. And share with me too if anything worked for you that could work for me. Share with me too. Yeah, let's support each other. Okay, I'm gonna end tonight. Thank you so much for staying. I'll continue having this every Tuesday, 8 to 9 Central Time. So, thank you. Yeah, let me know any question or anything, just let me know. Thank you. I hope you guys have good night or good morning or good day. I love to be connected. I respond to every comment. I that really encourages me. So let's stay connected. Thank you. I'll see you next week. Good night. Thank you. バイバイ、カクーンさん。